Hello everybody, welcome to Builder Buy. I'm just in the process of getting everything here up and running. You'll give me just a couple of minutes till we get everything like we want it. A little late getting started, but not the first time that's happened. Today, some of the things we're going to talk about are varied. I've heard from some more of our people at Builder Buy. I want to thank you for that. It's been a little rough on everybody. I heard from Andrew, I believe it was let me think, last night. Everything was okay with them, and it was good to hear that. Still haven't heard from Ben. Heard from Milt. Milt's okay. They're about finished getting their repairs done. Tough thing was, though, he mentioned about Nick Brown, that they decided they're going to move to a assisted living facility, and so because of that, they're going to let the granddaughter rebuild the house. So heard from Joe through Lou from the broadcast message we sent out, and Joe can travel anywhere, anytime now, as of I believe last week. So things have changed dramatically quickly. And the bladder that was up on I-10, keeping the water out off the freeway, is now gone. That area is open and work's going on out there. So lots of good things going on. So I want to get on to the program. I want to keep it short today, and I'm also going to have some stuff I'll mention behind the scenes for Builder Buy later. I've been working on a couple items that didn't have time to mess with today. Normally on the first Wednesday of each month, we talk about cloning, imaging, and backup, and I always encourage everyone to do that. So I've got a product I'm going to share with you guys, and let me pick it up and take it up to you. I only have 2 cameras running today. I didn't have time to get the third one. And this is a product from Seagate. This is the Seagate 4TB USB 3 Backup Plus. What I want to do is show you my thoughts on this. Pull this drive out of the package, plug it into the machine, and show you what's going to happen when it does its deal. But before I get to that, I want to talk to you about a couple of items on Windows that we've talked about in the past. I've had a machine that I do email on all the time that's getting kind of sluggish, and I want to correct that sluggish problem. So collecting information, some of the programs have just been horrendous, and it seems like this all started when we started running with the, let me think. I believe it was with the latest update of Windows 10. So whatever Microsoft decided to do, there's 2 culprits to this. One of them is Cortana, and we talked about how to pull that out of Windows 10 Professional. It's pretty easy to do. It's a little more complicated out of Windows 10 Home. So I've got a machine here that has Windows 10 Home on it. I'm going to show you briefly, talk about going into the registry and shutting that down. There's some instructions on the website. Might be better off to leave it at that. But number two is Windows Search. I remember used to when we had disk thrashing, and that was a problem with Microsoft Office. You know, this goes back 15, 20 years ago. Well, apparently something occurred with this last update where the search has just rendered the machine absolutely useless. So I went in and told it, quit searching. I know where my stuff is. If I need to find it, there are other tools that do a better job and won't bog down the resources on my machine. And the search tool is the one that's in the Windows control panel. So I'm going to take onto this computer, and I'll bring this up on the screen and show you what I'm talking about. Now this is a Windows 10 computer, so what I'm going to do first of all, I'll press the Start Print Screen key. It's the Start Pause Break key. Okay, this shows me that we're running on a let's see, this is, yeah, Windows, oh, I'm sorry, this is Windows 7 Home Premium. I thought this was Windows 10. Well, what I was going to show you is not going to work on that machine. So what I'm going to do is let me think about this. I'll have to go to a different computer, and let me go to this other computer over here that will bring us up. This is Windows 10 Pro. Microsoft was messing with machines last night, and you know, you get ready to do something, there they are monkeying with things. So I'm going to have to go to a different computer, and I will bring that up on, let's see, computer number 3. Let's bring that one up. Let me pull all this information down. And what I'm going to show you, same thing, Start, Pause, Break key. And we're going to double check our Windows, and this says we're running Windows 10 Pro. And again, because I'm on this particular machine and I have dual screens configured on this machine, I cannot zoom in on it. If I were to zoom in on this screen, it would try to zoom over both screens and might make things look strange. So I'm going to just work with this one screen. So back over to this computer, what I want to do is verify we have Windows 10 Home. Windows 10 Pro, because we don't have home. And all we have to do is bring up the group policy editor. So if I do a search for group policy editor, and all I do is type in policy, and I will click on that. And this is as it relates to Cortana. We'll take that full screen. I'll move that bar over just a little bit. I'm going to look at administrative templates. I'm going to look at Windows components. I'm going to go down here to search. And unfortunately, Microsoft has decided in their infinite wisdom to tie search and the interface with Cortana together. So we're going to shut down part of Cortana, but if we completely shut down Cortana, it breaks the search component. And I'll show you what I mean here. First of all, we're going to go and back to the computer. And now that we're in the local group policy editor, and again, the group policy editor, you have that on Windows 10 Pro, but you don't have it on Windows Home. So right up here, where it shows Cortana, it says not configured, comment none, allow Cortana lock screen. So what I'm going to do is double click on this, and I'm going to say disable. And if I disable that, now once I do this setting and disable it, it's going to put a setting in the registry. That setting in the registry, once you know what it is, which is a D-word, a 32-bit D-word value. Once you find that setting, you can then go in and do that to Windows 10 Home. Now I've made it easier. There's a couple of links on Builder By that I will put up on this YouTube video to find this on the, I believe it was the How To Geek. Let me go back over to a computer and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. We bring up a browser screen right off this same computer. So first thing I'll do is disable. And it says disabled, and also the allow Cortana above lock screen. I'm going to disable that. Now the primary one is the allow Cortana, and I've said no. Now I'm going to close this. I'll close this screen because again we're running Windows 10 Pro. Now I'm going to go down to my taskbar and I'm going to bring up the task manager. You'll notice Cortana is still running, and I can't really kill it. And there will be another Cortana process that will try to run. But if I say, let's go to details, you'll notice Search UI. And Search UI is still running. But if we go to File Location, if you'll notice, we're under the Microsoft Windows Cortana subdirectory. And if I back out of that, that whole folder is Cortana. If there was some way to disable that or rename it, that's possible. It's extremely difficult to do. But even if we did achieve that goal, it would break the Search UI. So because the two are closely associated, all we're trying to do is achieve one goal: get back the performance on this computer so it won't be as sluggish. This is one way. This is a fairly easy solution. And I'll show you a link on Builder By. Let me bring up a browser. I'll go to this same computer. I'll go to Builder By. And again, I'm going to put this link up on the YouTube video. And down here under talking points for today, I've got about 20 talking points. The link on How To Geek. Why is Cortana still running in the background after you disable it? And how to disable Cortana in Windows 10 Anniversary Update. So you can walk through and follow those links, and that'll tell you how to do that in Windows 10 Home. Now, the next part number 2, to get back performance on a machine, this is the easy part. This is the real easy part. So let's go back over to the machine, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the control panel. And from control panel, I'm going to look for search. So all I need to do is press the letter S. Storage, sync system. Well, let's see, where did search go? Windows search. I thought it was under S. Oh, indexing options. Excuse me. There it is, indexing options. This is the search. Been a long day. It's supposed to start at 1 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock, so I'm doing better than I did last week. So bear with me, folks. Hopefully next week I'll be on time. So back over to this. This is under indexing options. This is part of the search. And what I'm going to do to this is I'm going to neuter it, because this user's app data, I can modify this. And what I can do, if you'll notice on this machine, I've got an NVMe drive, drive C, and offline files. I can remove all that stuff so that it stops looking at users. And that's what I did. That's what I did on the primary machine. I got to where I couldn't even do email without trying to drag and drop. Everything would pause. When I shut this off, problem went away. So I'm just showing you how to do it and where to go into it. And again, if you follow the links on this website, How To Geek, you'll find a couple of links that after you get through Cortana, there will be a mention about the Windows search and about these indexing locations. So you can give that a shot and see if that'll help. Okay, that's two little things I want to share with you, because now the next thing I want to do is I want to get into this drive. Since we talk about cloning and imaging, it's something that we tell everybody to do, but it's not something everybody always does. So what I'm going to do is go to a different computer here, if you'll give me just a second. And that was on a Windows machine, Windows 7. I thought that was going to be a Windows 10 machine. So we're going to go to that machine for a second. And there's nothing on this machine that would keep us from doing this. So what I'm going to do, again, this is the product. This is a Seagate 4TB USB 3 Backup Plus. And what I'm going to do right quick is I'm going to go back to the other computer before we plug this in, because there's three options on this drive. There's the 2 terabyte, the 4 terabyte, and then there's a 6 terabyte. Now, for reasons we've talked about in the past, when you're dealing with FAT32, NTFS, an MBR disk versus a GPT, for most people of a current computer, I think the 4 terabyte is bang for the buck. However, if you're dealing with an older computer, and I'm talking like maybe 7 or 8 years old, and you want to use a clone in a 4 terabyte drive, I wouldn't do that in an older machine, because it's not going to happen. Because the specification requirements, you can look this up, for an MBR, you're good to go up to about 2.5 terabytes. But when you go to a 4 terabyte, you need to be using GPT. Now, here's where they split hairs. You can configure a GPT disk on a machine all day long, but you can only boot from an MBR unless you have a unified EFI BIOS. So, if your machine is prior to unified EFI BIOS and you don't know what that means, stick with the 2 terabyte. But if you've got a brand new machine, you definitely have a unified EFI BIOS, which means you can boot from a GPT disk. Now, we're doing this with USB 3. So what I'm going to do is go back to this computer, and I'm going to show you a link on that particular computer from Build or Buy that can take us straight into the site for see which computer I'm on, straight into the site for Seagate. And right here, Seagate 4 terabyte USB 3. Now, something else I'll do, and I'll preface right quick while I'm thinking about it. This is something I got at Costco. Costco has the 4 terabyte, excuse me, they have the 2 terabyte, the 4 terabyte, and the 6 terabyte. Love the idea of the 6 terabyte, but it's kind of big. And if you'll notice, I'm going to pick this up again. Sorry I don't have a third camera on this. This is the best I can do. This 4 terabyte USB 3 is very thin. But if you're looking at the 2 terabyte, the 2 terabyte is half this thickness. Now, the 6 terabyte is a bigger drive and a bigger package. And there's also a faster drive than this. This is not a fast drive. It's one of the slower, but bang for the buck, it does the job for now. What we'll probably do sometime in the future, considering the machines we're working on, is I want to see what this is going to be like, not on a drive like this, but what's it going to be like on a drive that uses USB 3.1c. That'll be something to see. But we're going to walk through the process, check this drive out, see how far we get. Because not only will I be able, from the Windows 7 machine that I'm going to do this on, which I thought was Windows 10, I need to fix that. I have another machine that I was going to use, but I didn't have physical space in here to get it in here with me. I take up too much room. So anyway, we're going to work this on a Windows 7 machine. We'll see what kind of software is on here. Because the drive is Seagate, and a lot of people have used this drive, and I've read about some of the comments like on Amazon. They're extreme good and extreme bad. I think, in my opinion, the problem people are having with this drive, power, it's coming from the USB 3 port. And because of that, I don't think people are getting enough power to the drive, and I think that's what's causing some data corruption problems. That's just my theory. So what I would suggest when you buy one of these, if you buy one, download the C tools. And there may be a link up here on Build or Buy. If there's not, I'll get one up on the video. But the C tools from Seagate, you can look it up, C tools for Windows. Download it and check the drive, and you'll see the integrity of the drive. See if it's okay. And if you have a problem with the C tools, then get rid of it. Because like anything, don't buy something unless you need it. If you don't need it, especially if you don't need it right now, don't buy it. Things change. Things change too quickly. So I'm going to go back over here to this link, and I'm going to show you here the link on Seagate Tools. Excuse me, on Seagate. We'll go into Seagate's website. I'm going to hold down the Control key, click Enter, and this takes us into the Backup Plus, and you can see the Backup and Explore. There's the Slim, the Ultra Slim, the Portable, and the Fast. Now there's the 1 terabyte and the 2 terabyte. Costco has the 2 terabyte in the Slim, and it's nice and slim, fits in a pocket, about the thickness of a smartphone. Then they've also got, when I go to the Portable, that's what this is considered, the 4 terabyte Portable. And they also show a 5 terabyte, but it's in a bigger, excuse me, a 6 terabyte, not a 5, it's a 6 terabyte. It's in a bigger package. And this one happens to be blue. Now if we go looking for the C tools, I'm just going to do a search. C tools for Windows. C tools for Windows Seagate. You can click on that. It tells you the supported languages. We can download it, and I would strongly suggest downloading it. Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and cut the package on this drive. We're going to plug it into this Windows 7 machine and see what happens. So give me just a minute. Very carefully got my razor knife, and I'm going to cut this package open. See if I can cut the package without cutting me. All this stuff with all these packagings that they try to make, I don't know, adult proof. Because my concern is I don't want to cut a cable, and I didn't really want to cut the package. So I'm going to try slicing straight down on this and see if I get a good even cut. And I don't see any cables around the edge. If I did, they'd be toast. Now this is supposed to come with a cable, a USB 3 cable, to plug it in, so you've got everything you need. And it's supposed to have the software. I'm curious about how the drive is set up and formatted. We're going to find out here in a few minutes. And apparently mine cut didn't go all the way through. So once around the block again. Well, that's ornery. There, got it. Twice around the block. Okay, there's the drive, Seagate. You can see it right there. The back side of it. And there is a connection on one edge. I've also read about some people put something on top of the computer so that popped the screen. Excuse me about that. Okay, so you can see here the one connection. And I've read about some people wanting to take these drives out of the box because they claim this is the least expensive way to get one of these little drives. I wouldn't do that. Voids the warranty. And that creates problems. But never say never. Okay, and we got a USB 3 cable. Man, that's short. And that is one of those special cables that gives power. Interesting. If you'll notice the end of that, let me see if I can get this up on the other monitor. I'll bring up the other camera right quick. You can see that connector. You got your standard on one end. Let me go back to the other. I think that may show up. I've got better lighting over here. Let's try this. That'll come into that just right. Yeah, you can see that connector right there. It's on autofocus. Not much I can do about that. I'm only one person. Well, I'm trying to get it to focus. It's not going to do it. Let me back off. There's another way I can do this. Hang on a second. There we go. Now you can see those connectors. Standard USB 3, and you got the other end with power. Okay, so that gives you some idea what we're working with. So that's the cable, and this little rascal is short. How short? Extremely short. Wouldn't work for most situations. For a laptop, be fine. I'm doing this on a desktop. Comes with a piece of paper. Tells about what's here. So I'm going to pull that out. Tells it's the backup plus slim, so it's da-da-da. Congratulations. Save time, ease of use, peace of mind. To protect your data, always follow the safe removal procedures for your operating system when disconnecting your product. That may be something else people aren't doing. Before you pull a drive, disconnect the drive. If you just pull it, you're corrupting it. Think of it as hot swap. Software is supposed to already be on the drive. This is written in languages, the rescue data recovery services. Yeah. If we've got those kind of problems, then yeah, for assistance or submitting a claim. I've not heard very good things about tech support with Seagate, so I'll give it that for what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this drive, we're going to plug into this machine. So what I'm going to do is go back over to this Windows 7 machine. Give me just a second here, and we'll put that up on screen. And what I'm going to do is, if you'll watch in the bottom right-hand corner, this should show what's going to happen when I plug this drive in. So the first thing I'm going to do is plug in the cable, the data end, to the drive, and then I'll plug and I'm going to set this on top. I can't show you because I can't show this to you because I don't have a camera pointing down at it, but I'm getting ready to plug this into the computer. So just watch the screen. You'll see something on the bottom right when this gets plugged in. And again, this is USB 3, but it's also backwards compatible for USB 2. Older computers, that would be really handy. I'm going to plug it in, and we should see something recognized. You'll see the screen come up, installing device driver software. Click here for status, which I'm going to do. Your device is now ready to use. And if you'll notice, it says open to view files. That's ready to go. Warranty information, start here for Mac. I've read about some people having difficulty with the Mac driver. I don't care about that. What I want to do is back out to my computer. I'm going to right click on this, and I want to check the properties of this particular drive. Now what we're looking at, this is really interesting. This is an NTFS drive, and it is use space 250. There's 3.68 terabytes, but the fact that it's NTFS, just for grins, I'm going to go into Device Manager and see what we've got. So I'm going to bring up the start, pause, break key. Go to Device Manager, and I'm going to look at the drive, Seagate, working fine, quick removal by default, but with that quick removal you want to be sure and do the hot swap unplug, which is down here in the bottom right hand corner. When you're through with it, click on that icon for safe removal of hardware and eject media, in which that would show that particular drive, the BUP-BL. I'm going to go back up here to the top, the volumes. Doesn't show anything. I've read some people talking about formatting them with separate partitions. I'd keep it simple and keep it all as one. Now one last thing I want to do is I'm going to close all this. I'm going to go into Control Panel, and I'm going to go under Disk Management. So I'll go to Administrative Tools. I'm going to go to Computer Management. And once I get to Computer Management, then we'll go to Disk Management. Disk Management. And yes, there's other ways to get there. I'm going this way. Shows the Seagate Backup Plus. Healthy primary partition. And what I'm trying to find out, which is the same information, it's not telling me. Let me close this just for a second. When I find what I'm looking for, I'll tell you what I'm looking for. For those of you that know, bear with me. Pause, break. Let's go back to Device Manager, which I had up, and I can get to from the Control Panel. But I'm going to do it this way. I'm trying to keep it simple for other people that are watching. I'm going to go to, okay, this is what I want. I want to populate. I want it to tell me what the drive is. Right there. See where that says GPT? Now, on this computer, I should be able to zoom because this computer is configured as a single display. That's what I was looking for. Now, I'm going to back out of this and show you that again. I'll close all that down and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, this is the first time I've looked at this drive, so we're all looking at this fresh together. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'll press the Start, Pause, Break key because I'm verifying my operating system, which happens to be Windows 7 Home Premium. But from here, I can get to Disk Manager. Disk Manager lets me do two things. One, you notice I'm on an AMD machine with integrated graphics, but it lets me see that disk drive. So I'll double click on that, which is the same thing as if I said right click Properties. And I'm going to go to Volume. Let me zoom in on this because this is the key part right here. And now I'm going to tell it to populate. This is the one place I can go to and tells me what this disk is. This is a GPT disk because this is a 4 terabyte. Now, if this were a 2 terabyte, it could be MBR or GPT, but because it's 4 terabyte, it needs to be GPT, and it is. And that's what I want to verify. And it's also set up for NTFS, which it should be. So as far as I'm concerned, this disk is good to go. But I'm just verifying everything that's here before I do anything else with it. And if I want to go back in the Control Panel to verify that again, I go to Administrative Tools, and here I've got where I can get access to the Computer Management. And from here I can go to two places. I can get Device Manager from here, or I can get to Disk Management. And Disk Management is where I wanted to populate the drive. Let's take that all the way up. Show me that disk. And as I'm looking at Properties, I'm back to this same screen. This would be the same screen if I brought up the Windows flag E for Explorer and did a right click on the drive for Properties. Same thing. Same thing. Just another way to get there. And the reason I'm looking at Properties of this, I want to see that I have an NTFS file system, but as important that is, more importantly, going to Device Manager, go to the disk drive, go into the Seagate drive, double click on it, go to Volumes, and right here it says Populate. Let me magnify that. I'm going to populate, and it tells me the partition style is a GPT. Okay, that's the most important, and that's what I wanted to know, and that's how you verify it. Works with any disk. Easy way to do it. Okay, little tidbit of information, hope that helps. And I'm also going to share with you some stuff about streaming solutions. We're still streaming at 720 today. Okay, I'm going to go back to the disk, flag E, and it says Start here, Windows. Now, this should be an application for, this says for product registration. I thought their backup software was on here, but I don't want to register the product right now because I'm not 100% convinced I'm going to keep it. So let's see what they do. I'm curious about the program. I expect to see a Cronus on here, but I don't know that's what I'm going to see. sign up, protect your data, finish, and it shows Costco because that's where it came from. So I have to do all that good stuff before I can go anywhere. So what I'm going to do is close that for the moment, and I'm going to see. I do not want to use the Acronis version of backup software from Seagate. So I'm going to see what Seagate has if anything else comes up. And this is Seagate Backup Plus software. Okay, Backup Plus desktop drive, Backup Plus Slim Portable, and again this was called a, let's go back to build or buy. I'm on a different computer than I was a while ago. So I want to go down here to Talking Points, Backup Plus Portable, hold down the Control key, press Enter. And while I'm here, I'm going to double check that. That's the portable. Accessories just show you a couple of longer cables if you're interested. Specs I don't need. What I'm curious about is their software. If there's some way to get the software without having to register. And it may not be possible. Because my preference for backup software is one of the other two programs, which is curious, because if y'all remember when we tried this on Milbab's computer, and I'm going to make this note right quick, if you're trying to do this cloning, imaging, or backup on a 4K computer, we tried to use the Linux solution, which gets around all this crazy stuff with Windows. We could not do that on Milbab's 4K laptop because that Linux solution looks at that display and says, oh wow, 4K, and I mean the fonts, you couldn't even see it with a magnifying glass, it was so tiny. So with the 4K, until everybody gets all this stuff sorted out, it creates new problems. And some of these tools that we've used for the past just exacerbate it by making it worse. So you're going to have to, in a 4K environment, stick with something that works in Windows so you can see what you're doing. So I mention that because I still like the other programs that I'm looking for. So give me just a second. I want to see if we can find this program without having to register the product. So again, this is called the Seagate Backup Plus Portable, 4 terabyte. So Seagate Backup Plus. Let's try Seagate Backup software download. I know what that's going to get us, and that's not what I want to find. But I'll try it. The Seagate dashboard. Seagate Backup Plus Slim Portable, and this is not the Slim Portable. How about the Backup Plus desktop drive? Again, this is the Backup Plus Portable. So Backup, Seagate Backup Plus Portable. Seagate Plus Slim Portable. Seagate Plus, Seagate Backup Plus Portable. Let's try this first. Hold down the Control key. See what it gets us. Backup Plus Slim Portable. Backup Plus Portable. Okay. Disk Wizard C Tools. Paragon driver and dashboard support. The Paragon driver for Mac, the Seagate dashboard for Mac, and the Seagate dashboard for Windows. So Seagate dashboard. I wonder if this is different. We're downloading the Seagate dashboard. If this is the if this is their version of the Acronis, I'm going to go to another solution. But I want to see how involved this would be for anybody else trying to do this. So that's why I'm doing this from scratch, like anybody else would go through. So as we go through the process while that's downloading, in a couple of minutes, I'm going to call this program up, and we'll go through the process. It says it's got about 20 seconds left, and if I get to a point where I see Acronis anything, then I'm going to stop. Because this is a Windows 7 machine, I don't mind losing Windows. But then my only alternative is Windows 10, And by the way, you can still get the free upgrade, so don't worry about that for those that are still on Windows 7. And for those that are having difficulty with those new updates, about the only thing we can do to stop that, and there's a link on BuilderBuy, and I'll put that link up on this YouTube video. There is a link, I believe it's Computer World, that deals with how to shut that process down. And all you're going to do is turn Windows 10 with a metered connection. So you change your internet connection from a regular connection to a metered connection, and it'll not do updates while you're on a metered connection. As soon as you change it back, you're going to be in for it. But it'll get you around that problem with some of these updates that they're pushing out that are buggy. There have been several. Okay, the download's finished, the Seagate dashboard. I'm going to go show all. Let's see where that landed. Show the folder. And I'm gonna move this because I keep most things that I download under applications. It's just the way I organize stuff, working on lots of machines. So we're going to run this, see what we've got. I still don't know what we have. Okay, pending Microsoft vCeres distribution 2005 x86. So we have to install that. So let's let it go ahead. Windows Installer. Windows configures the VCC, or the VC 2005. Lots of applications have other things they call on from Microsoft, and there's different versions of some of these redistributables. Seagate dashboard is now running, extracting. So let's see what we've got when this comes up. And good old EULA, like we have a choice, accept and install. We're going to put this on the C drive. It's always simpler. And remember, our goal is we've installed this drive so we can clone it. And that's what we're trying to show. And then I'm going to talk to you about some H.264 and H.265 streaming solutions. Just a little bit about that. And I also want to mention that Canon has come out with a new camera that's really, really interesting. There's a link on Cinema 5. There's an article up on RedShark that we have on BuilderBuy, and there's a nice little article about that same camera also up on B&H for anybody that's interested. I'll tell you what the model of that camera is here in just a minute. Let's get through this installation process. Installing Seagate dashboard, installation wizard complete. The installation wizard has successfully installed Seagate dashboard. Click to finish. Okay, launch the program. That's what we're going to do. Let's see if we're good to go. I'm going to close the screen while we're waiting. And I should shut down the browser. I'm going to just minimize it for the moment. And this says dashboard. Okay, dashboard wants access. Allow dashboard to communicate on these networks. So let me magnify this so you can see what I'm seeing. I'm okay with that on private networks, on the home network. So I'm going to go ahead and say okay, because that tells me it would be able to back up a machine on the network. And that was something that Bill Babb was concerned about. Now, when you start backing up on the network, that's a different issue because we don't have enough bandwidth even through a gigabit network. But something that we have not talked about that we should, and we can only do this on a desktop, but we have to start talking about 10 gigabit. It's doable. The network cards, $100 a piece. I believe ASUS has one that'll do the job. And then there's also a switch that'll do 10 gigabit. The switch is a little bit more pricey. That's where the expense comes in. I think the switch is around $800. So $100 for each computer, and this is on copper, but you can also do it on fiber. But we might get into that some more sometime for those that want to do this through a network. So let's get back over to this machine. As I think of these things, I'll tell them to you. So I'm going to go ahead and give this access because I'm good with that on this particular network. Now, here it is, pretty simple. It sees the drive, backup plus 4 terabyte, and it gives us a serial number, a firmware version. We can back up the PC, we can do a mobile backup, back up our social media, or we can restore. That's pretty simple. It's strictly backup. There's nothing there like we always talk about cloning, imaging, or backing up. This just says strictly backup. So let's walk through it, see what's going on. You don't know this stuff till you try it. I've never tried this particular program. Okay, PC backup. Completely different than ESUS to do. Give me just a second while I look at another computer here right quick. I'm going to flip this over to number 3, and I'm going to do a check on ESUS to do. This is one we used to use. Some people still use it a lot. And then the other backup software we used, backup software for Windows, and that program is called, what was that program called we use? My mind just went blank. I know ESUS to do. Well, my mind's blank. I use it all the time, and I've got it on the primary machine. In fact, what I may have to do is just take a look. If you give me just a second, I'll find it. It should be on this machine. I put it on every machine. So while I'm looking, that is called, now if Joe was here, he'd have it on the tip of his tongue. And I'm not sure. Well, anyway, we'll move on with this. It'll come to me when the least time I'm thinking of it. It's the one I prefer to use over ESUS to do, because I like it because it made perfect clones that were bootable. So let's do a protection. We've got 2 choices here on this particular computer. Let's go back to that computer, which is on right here, and we are going to bring that up. And I'm going to go back over here to this particular camera. Okay. ESUS to do is one of the programs. I can't remember the other one. When I think of it, I'll get a link up on our YouTube video. But right now, let's go ahead with this software, which is from Seagate, and see what we've got involved. I didn't see any mention of Acronis, which is interesting. I'm sure the underlying component is Acronis, but we'll see. Oh, and by the way, for those that are interested, I heard sent some email to Gene Barlow the other day. You know, he's user group relations, UGR.com. Well, he no longer has UGR.com. Now his domain name is UGR7, UGR7.com. Send him some email, see how they're doing. The reason I mentioned Gene Barlow, because he's Mr. IBM, and Gene Barlow is the one representing Acronis. Haven't heard back from him. Hope he's all right. As far as I know, he and his wife are still doing their thing, and I have no idea what happened to their other domain, but it's UGR7.com. And there's a new version of Acronis for those that want it. So let's get back over to this little tidbit of information. Now it says protect now. Begin backing up all your data files to a Seagate Backup Plus whenever they change, or schedule your own custom backup. So I'm going to go bring up the Windows E, and I'm going to look at this drive, and I'm going to say, okay, well let me look at the computer, which is the C drive, and everything is usually under the user, and that's usually what you want to back up. For me, there's a lot of stuff under the shared user, and I've got 445 gigs of data. So I'm not in a big deal about cloning the machine. If I just want to protect my data, then I'm good to go. So if I follow this procedure, let me close this screen down behind, and back up to the dashboard, and let's go. Let's say protect now. Okay, backup now, new backup plan, backup log. Backup all files continuously, 2%. Wow. So let's say backup right now. Let's see how long it'll take and see what it's going to do. I've clicked on backup now. Let me zoom out just a second to see if I'm missing something on the bottom of the screen. I'm not. Backup now. And I don't know if that's running or not. Apparently it is. Now, how long is that going to take? I have no idea. But apparently it's backing up the machine, so that's just about how simple it is. That's one way to do things. I like a little bit more control over how we do that. So either ESUS to do, or what's that other program we use? There's the paid version. I know the paid version because I have a license for it. And then there's the free version that will work for most people. Give me a second, I'm going to look. I think I can find it. It's going to take me just a second to look for it. That's annoying when there's something you know, but you just can't remember it. So let me bounce over to that machine, which is number 3. Okay. Let's do a search for, I can find it this way, free backup software. Macrium. Wow. Macrium Reflect. That's my favorite. So Macrium Reflect. Easiest to do in Macrium Reflect. So I'll pull up Macrium Reflect. Macrium Reflect free. I've downloaded it on this machine before. Macrium Reflect free, version 6. You'll want to click on Home Use. And it's downloading. And all this is a stub. Once you download the stub, you execute that, and then you've got to download the program itself. So while this other machine is backing up, it says 3%. That's going to take a while. That's going to take a long time. For that amount of data, for that to be moving so slow on a USB 3, that's, I think cloning would be faster. But the disadvantage of a clone, once you set a clone, you can do one clone. Then after that, then you've got to do data files for your images or for your backup. Now, this software that comes with this drive is straight backup, so I'm not too gung-ho based on the data for that I've seen for this Seagate dashboard. I think I'd go for the Macrium Reflect, have full control. You pay for the drive, get a free version of Macrium Reflect, and if you like it, then you can buy it. I've got a license for it because of other things that I do with the other version that I haven't needed to do in quite a while, but I believe in supporting the vendors. But anyway, the free version, like I said, will work for most people. But it gives you control to do 3 things. You can do this with Macrium. You can also do this with the easiest to do. You can clone, image, or backup. And everybody should do this on a regular basis, because like Joe says, you know, if you haven't done that, don't bother me, because the first thing I'm going to do is tell you how to get your clone, image, or backup back up. And if you don't have it, you want me to tell you what to do after the fact. So do this beforehand. It takes a little time, and this drive now is at 4%, so I have no idea how long that's going to take. But I want to share that with you. Again, this is at Costco, so I'm going to go back over to this computer, and we'll go back over here to Build or Buy for just a second on the talking points, because I've got a link on this that goes straight into Costco. I want to hold down the control key, click on that. That'll take us in. And you know how links are at Costco. They're here for a while, and then they're gone. Now, this doesn't get very good reviews. Boy, you ought to see the reviews for this thing on Amazon. A lot of people have been trying this, but they're just not real wound up about it. But again, I think the problem they're having is they're not getting enough power through the USB 3 port. Now, fast data transfer for USB 3, yes. Compatibility, yes. But as we go forward and we need this stuff to happen faster, we need a solution for USB 3.1. And there are a couple of ways to do it that I would recommend. Most of them right now would be kind of expensive, but I'm hoping that too is going to become more affordable as the technology becomes more available. So we'll go back over to this link. This is the Seagate Backup Plus 4 terabyte, and there's the 2 terabyte and a 6 terabyte. I like the way the drive is set up. I like the package of the drive. There they show it working with a laptop. It's just I'm not gung-ho about the software they're using. So what I think I'm going to do on this particular machine, I'm going to go back to this other machine, and I'm going to stop this process that's at 5%, and let's run Macrium Reflect and see how far we get in the same amount of time. I think we can do better. We can't do any worse. So we're going to go from this computer over to this computer. Okay. So I'm going to stop the process, stop the backup. Last job canceled. Let's go back to home. I'm going to close it. Now, for most people that like easy, maybe that's the way to go. I don't think so. My online documents, there's a folder, Seagate Dashboard 2, Oh wow, it was starting to back up movies. It hasn't done anything. It's an empty folder. Wow. So I'm going to bring up the drive just to look at it. And this particular C drive on the computer, under users, it was starting to back up the user Reba. And that was videos. Yeah, it hadn't done anything. Wow. All the videos should be under public. Music videos, of course the sample stuff. And then under the user Gil Boyd, there shouldn't be anything on here because this drive, I just set up that user not too long ago. But I'll probably reformat this and start over. This was one of Reba's computers, and Reba doesn't even have her primary computer hooked up. So I hope somebody will get this bug in their ear and go help Reba get her computer hooked up. We'd like to get Reba back on email so we can communicate with her. Reba can't see and can't hear very well, but with her computer she can communicate with everybody and anywhere all over the world. So let's go back to this computer, and I'm going to go through the same process. Let's go look for Macrium Reflect. Macrium Reflect. Pull it down, download the free version. We're going to go to Home, which is just a little bit behind the paid version as far as being the latest. Differential images, auto verification, predefined backup plan templates, the Windows PE rescue environment. There's just all kinds of good stuff here. So I'm going to say show all, show me where that file's at, and I'm going to move that file, cut, because I keep downloads in an applications folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder for this. This is just the way I work. I've seen a lot of drives where people have a lot of stuff, and I don't know how they can find anything. I guess that's why they depend on Microsoft. Macrium Reflect free. Oh, I already had a folder for that. Yeah, merge it. Didn't realize it. Yep, and there it is. So if I go to that, this is 607. This was done back in 2015, so I need to download a new version. And the new stub file was this stub file. Reflect DL, and this is DLHF. DLHF for, I guess, home. That's interesting. So let's pull this down. Let's run it. And it'll ask for the path where we're going to put stuff. So I'll go through the same process. I don't want to put that under the folder that's the default. So I'm going to tell it where I want to put it. So I'll go to the computer, go to the C drive, users, I'm going to public, because for doing stuff on the network, this just makes life easier for me. Applications, incoming, let's see, applications, incoming applications, Macrium Reflect free, okay. And then that, let me zoom back out. So I need to see the full menu. I want to click here on the bottom, it says download, go for it. And I'm going to look in that folder as this comes down and see what we're getting. And we're getting the newer version, 603. So I'm going to magnify again so you can see this. All I need to do is look on the drive. I had version 6, and now I'm 603. So I've gone from the version of 2015 to this version in 2017. So the next is to install. So we're going to go ahead and extract. Now, because there's files on this drive, if I were to clone, then that would wipe everything on that drive off. So if I want to keep those files, I need to move those files to the C drive. Here's my key. Do I want to register? No. Register before. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to install. Wait while the setup wizard installs Macrium Reflect free. This may take several minutes. So in one component you got the drive that you've bought, and yes, there's software that was apparently on the drive, but I didn't want to go through the registration process. So I downloaded that software separately from Seagate to see what it would look like, because I'm not convinced about the drive. Like you, I'm curious, so I'm looking at it. I want to see what it had, what it's about. So as far as the drive goes, the capacity, I'm all in. As far as the cable length, a little short, but I understand that on a laptop would be perfect. On a desktop, sitting on top is okay, but not all desktops can, because of their configuration, the way the top is made, can handle a case sitting on top. What if you need to set that drive next to the case? Then that cable's too short. So then you'd want to go look at the website for that link and buy that longer cable. And if you're not sure about what cable you need, that's why the link for the website, so you can take a look. So let's go back over here. But what I'm not convinced about is the software. So that's why we're installing Macrium Reflect free. We're creatures of habit. We tend to do what we know. So I've installed Macrium Reflect, so I'll close the screen. I'm going to minimize that, and I have an icon for Macrium Reflect. So let's call that up. And again, it wants me to register. I'll say, remind me in 30 days. Okay, rescue media. And this is where we got hung up, I think, on Mel Babb's machine. If you have not yet created rescue media to enable system recovery of your PC, you have not yet. Do you want to? Now, this is one of those things where we say, do as I say, not as I do. This should be done, but I'm, in the interest of trying to show this particular drive, not going to show this particular process because we're interested in the drive. So I'm going to go back to this drive, and what I want to do is see how much faster it can put data to this drive than that Seagate software could. So this particular process needs to be done, but if you notice there's a little spot there that says don't ask me, I'm not checking that. Do you want to create rescue media now? I'm going to say no. So the next time I call this program up, it's going to ask me again. I want it to. Okay, so I see the GPT disk 1, which is FAT32, logical block addressing, an unformatted partition, and I see the NTFS, which happens to be C. Now, I see this other drive, 128 meg unformatted primary. We're not going to mess with that. And what we're going to do is put the data down over here. Now, if we're going to clone, this says create a backup. If we were going to clone, we'd say clone, and again, we'd lose all the data that's on that drive. So let me bring up flag E. I'm going to click on the drive, and let's look at the data. Online Documents has nothing. Seagate Dashboard, it was starting to back up. There's nothing there. Start here for the Mac app. I can move that off if I need it. And the other two things I had left were these two applications. Now, if I want to keep that, then what I could do, let me back out, and I'm going to look at the label on this drive. And the reason I'm going to look at the label is because I'm going to right-click, copy, and I'm going to use the label on that drive as the label on a folder that's going to be on the C drive, where I'm going to take the contents that are on that drive and put it on C so I can keep it. Downloads, public downloads, incoming, applications. Right-click, new, folder, right-click, paste, enter. Okay, that data that has a drive label now has a folder. So I'm going to go back over here to the drive, go down here to computer, I'll go back to the drive, I'm going to take these two items. This is all I want. Okay, I'll take all three of them. I can hear David Crook's voice in the background. I'll take those. I'll go back over to downloads, public, incoming, applications, Seagate, paste. And let's see if it'll take all three of those, and it did. All three of those items are now on the C drive. So if I want to clone this drive, let me back out just a minute so we don't get seasickness. If I want to clone this drive, the data that I have preserved, I'm good to go. So what I'm going to say now is up here, where all all three of these partitions are highlighted, I could clone or I could image. The clone is something you can do the first time. The image is something you can do all the time. So what if we just image the drive? Then we'll have the image of the C drive on that disk. And this C drive happens to be a 1 terabyte. So that 1 terabyte drive actually 595, that's not even a 1 terabyte drive. That may be a 750 gig drive. There's plenty of room on the Seagate to put this image on there 4 times and still have some space. So let's do the image. We'll create a folder that's looking for the folder for the location. I've also got, let me zoom in on this so you can see. Now we're more concerned with the software. The source, I'm going to do a folder. I've got an alternate where I can put it on a CD, DVD burner, use the image ID as the file name recommended, and we're going to do a backup. And it's going to have that file name with MRIMG. So we're going to select the folder. We're going to put this on the Seagate Backup Plus. We're going to make a new folder. We're going to call this Reba PC. We're going to say OK. And if you'll notice, we've got a folder now, Reba PC, and we're going to get an image where it says Reba PC and the image ID. Use the image ID as the file name, recommended. So if I say next, now for those wondering what advanced options are, advanced options, set the compression level. It's set for medium. That's the default intelligent sector copy. Make an exact copy. Partitions include unused sectors. Therefore, forensic examination of the partition remain unchanged. Deleted files may be recovered, for example. We're going to go with the intelligent sector. File size, automatic. Password, not messing with that. Auto verify. We could do that. It'll take longer. Comments, if I want to put some comments in here, shut down. I'm not going to enable shutdown. Email, email success, email failure. I don't need it to do either one of those, any of that stuff. So all the advanced options I don't need. I'm just going to go from what we have here, which is the GPT disk, which is the C drive. We're going to take all this stuff and we're just going to make an image of it. So we're going to click on Next. We're going to click on Next. Purge the oldest backup. This is the first one. The default, apply retention rules to matching backup sets in the target folder. We're doing a full, and we have the ability to do an incremental as well as a differential. Full and differential are checked. We'll keep the full for 12 days. We'll keep the differential for 4 days. Those are default values. And I could do another complete full one if I chose to. So I'm going to go Next. Now, everything that's been chosen, rule will be applied to all matching backup sets in the destination folder. Full, retain 12 full images. Differential, retain 4 differential images. And the incremental, we don't have checked, but that would be the purge we run after the image, so we don't need to worry about that. And free space threshold, delete the oldest backup set when free space is less than 5 gigs. I would hope so, because on a percentage of 20%, we'd be way under that. So anyway, it shows the file name, hard disk, drive letter not available. It's the C drive. Auto verify, no. We're just doing a quick, and let's see how long this takes. So we've clicked Start. We're going to call this My Backup. I'll do a dash, finish the name. Reba PC. I'll give it a date. And this is 9/13/2017. I'm going to say OK. Now then, we're going to run the backup. We're going to save the backup and schedules as an XML backup definition file. You can run this backup at any time by double-clicking the saved XML file. We're going to say OK. There it is. It's going to be under Users, Gil Boyd. because that's the user on the machine right now. My backup Reba PC. I've named it so I'll know specifically with date and not time, but date and specific computer what I'm doing in case I copy this off to another machine, which is entirely possible, to another drive. So I'm going to click OK. Now then, let's see how long this takes. Now, no shutdown, high priority. I'm not doing anything else on the machine. It's starting the image, initializing, creating the snapshot, analyzing the file system on volume C. In a few minutes, it'll show overall progress. Then after that, then it'll show time remaining, which may or may not be 100% accurate as it goes through the process. So saving partition, no name, saving partition, then saving partition C. I should have named the C drive, but I didn't. Showing the transfer rate, we're running around, and this says this is going to take 2 hours. Now, this is one of the things I like about this software. I have some idea and some kind of time frame how long this is going to take. I see the procedure as it progresses. Overall, the transfer rate, we're running around 500 megabits per second. 500, we hit up to nearly 700, which when you consider USB 3, that's pretty good. Time remaining, it says it's going to take a couple hours. It's bumped down now to 1 hour and 48 minutes. Current progress. So while that works, we can let that continue to work. And that'll take longer than it will for us to finish our meeting, because the big thing I wanted to show you today was one, talking about how to get Windows where it could be a little bit snappier if things are bogging down. So I've told you how to get rid of that sluggishness. One, Cortana, shut it off to the best of our ability. Number two, which may be even more important than Cortana, but to go in and turn off that indexing. I couldn't believe it was like the disk thrashing we had years ago. So those are the two things I recommended to get Windows back up to speed. There's other things we'll do later as the process turns, but that gets you going for right now. The next thing I want us to do is look at this drive from Seagate. And this is the Seagate 4TB USB 3 Backup Plus. I think it sells for about $110. If it's something you need in a hurry, because you know the big thing with me with Amazon, of course during the storm, all the delivery services were 3 sheets to the wind. But something like this, if you needed something ASAP, you could buzz down to Costco and pick this up if you needed to clone a machine. And if you needed to clone a machine and you had a couple of hours, this would be the way to do it if you couldn't pull the drive. So I'm just saying, always have your data someplace where you can get to it. And that's one way to get to it. And if your data is really, really crucially important, you don't want to store your data just in one place. You want to have it maybe 2 or 3 places. That's as you go through the process. So say a clone, then you go through your imaging, and then you go through your backups. And as you cycle those, if you have them on different drives and you date them, then you know what the process is. Maybe even color-coded or labels on the drives. These are blues, so one could be black, one could be red, one could be silver. If you buy them at Costco, all the silver ones are the 2 terabyte, all the blue ones are the 4 terabyte, and all the black ones are the 6 terabyte. So 2 terabyte, 4 terabyte, 6 terabyte. If you're on an older machine, to reiterate, the 2 terabyte is the safest. If you're on a newer machine and you can handle a GPT disk, and even the older machines can back up to a GPT disk, I think the 4 terabyte is the way to go. But the 6 terabyte, I like it, but I didn't like the size. It physically, I mean, this 4 terabyte I can stick in my pocket. It's like a fat smartphone. The 2 terabyte is like a nice thin smartphone. The 6 terabyte just, it takes up too much space. It's easier for me to use a hot swap, pull the regular drive out and take the drive with me. But for a portable solution, I like the way this works. That's what I wanted to share with you. Every once in a while when something comes up, something you guys see and you're curious about, email us, let us know. Contact us either on BuilderBuy, on builderbuy.org or builderbuy.net, or contact us on YouTube. And if there's something you're interested in, we'll take a look at it. And if there's something we're talking about that we take for granted, we don't want to take anything for granted, because everything matters, everything is important. And if it's important to you, it's important to us. Sometimes we take things for granted because someone said once, and I hate the statement, but it's true, we forget more than most people know, and that's not a good thing. So remember, the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. So if you got a question, please ask. We'll try to answer it. So I've shared with you these things. Now I want to leave you with a final thought. We are streaming 720. We have so much bandwidth. Think of our bandwidth as in this much. and we need to double that bandwidth to be able to stream at 1080 resolution. We have a 10 megabit upload. Now most folks, I can show you the bandwidth we have right now on Comcast. We're not getting what we're paying for, but I can tell you what we have. We're supposed to have a 200 megabit down and a 100 and a 10 megabit up. We're getting like 30 megabit down and 10 megabit up. Okay, the download is not important for streaming. For streaming, it's the upload because we're uploading that file. With 10 megabit, we're only able to stream at 720. To stream at 1080, we've got to have 20 megabit. We have that at Chapelwood. We had that also at Fairhaven. That brings up an interesting point. I've talked to Bob Luton. He said we are welcome to bring the meeting back over to Fairhaven, but he's not sure the room configuration would work for us for what we do, meaning that the tables that were stored in the room are no longer stored there anymore. So setup would be somewhat of a problem for us. So as Bob said, I don't know the room configuration will work. So I've got to go over there and visit and see what's going on. I haven't heard from Chapelwood. All I know is that we can wait because we're still welcome there. And in my opinion, Chapelwood is still our best solution. It's just right now the Scout building is still Hurricane Central, Hurricane Relief Central. And I appreciate them letting us be there. We're their guests. So we got to be gracious about that and be thankful. They have bandwidth. And with the bandwidth they've got, we could stream 4K. Now, back to the bandwidth issue. Because I only have 720 here that I can stream, I'm using H.264 compression. We need to go to H.265. H.264 can be received by all CDNs. CDN is your content delivery network. Your content delivery network would be Facebook, YouTube, and all the other sites. Nobody that I'm aware of right now can receive H.265. So what has to occur is we have to have a device that will let us do H.265 so we can send a 1080 stream through on the bandwidth that I've got. Then we have to have a service in the cloud that in real time translates that from H.264 to from H.265 to H.264. Now, everybody wants to do 4K. That's a great thing. If we're going to do 4K, we need to be doing that with H.265. So I'm just saying this out there. The CDNs need to start accepting H.265. But until they do, we have to have an H.265 solution that then has a cloud solution. Well, last week I was looking at a product, I'll tell you the brand, that I thought was going to work for us. It's a professional product from LiveView. I found out how much that thing costs. That's not a product we're going to have. LiveView has a product called the LiveView Solo, which would work in our budget, but it's still H.264. They have another product called the LiveView LU600. The LU600 has a daughter card that plugs into the LU600 that's an HEVC card. HEVC is H.265. That would allow us to stream not only H.265, 1080 on this bandwidth, but 4K efficiently with the use of their cloud service. The problem is the device is not something we can afford. So the next option for us, and I've looked at what Blackmagic has. If we use the Blackmagic solution, which is great, it requires a computer. If we use the LiveView solution, no computer required. However, Teradek has, or let me rephrase that, Teradek is coming out with a product at the end of November that'll do exactly what we want. They've got a product out right now called the Teradek Cube 755 that will stream H.265. So with their cloud service as a subscription, you stream H.265 to their cloud service, and their cloud service then streams and does the conversion to your CDN. The device they're coming out with in November is the Teradek Cube 855, and it will stream H.265 and it'll stream 4K. So that's the one that I'm waiting for. That's the one I think is going to do what we want to do. But until then, while we're streaming here, we're stuck at 720. When we get back to, and we're using a consumer product, so I'm glad it's working. When we get back over to Chapelwood, we can get back to 1080, but we're using the same device. But once we get our hands on one of those Teradek Cube 855s, we will be able to stream 1080 or 4K. And the advantage is we can use 4K, but we can keep our bandwidth low so we're not overutilizing the bandwidth at Chapelwood. And even though this whole broadcast is a 1080 setup that we've down converted to 720, we can just as easily with our Teranex AV up convert in real time to 4K and broadcast it. So that's just some of the things that are going on. So back to this computer that was cloning, excuse me, that we're imaging. It says now it's going to take 20 hours. So and the transfer rate has dropped down to 75 megabit. I like the fact when we were running at 500 megabit, but I don't like the fact now that we've dropped down to 85 megabit. Now, how long is it going to stay like that? I'm not going to let that run probably for the full 11 hours, but I'll give you a progress report on it later to give you some idea of kind of time frame you've got to allow for. When you're cloning, imaging, or backup, if the drive can have access to the fastest transfer rate, that's always the best thing to do. The USB 3.0 is the lowest common denominator, even though it works with USB 2. If this run USB 2, it'd be faster to pull the drive out of the machine, put it in a desktop machine, so you have access to the SATA interface, clone it that way, or image it or backup or whatever. But I'm just saying these time frames you need to keep in mind. So back over to build or buy, a couple other talking points I'm going to share with you. Let me get this on the right computer. When we go to, let's see, computer number 3, and I'm going to take this back over. So I've told you about the Seagate 4TB. Drive looks pretty good. I prefer using the other software, which is the Macrium Reflect. I've got a link up here at Costco where you can get it. Now I want to tell you about that Canon camera. Canon is coming out with a new 4K camera. Now we're shooting with 2 Canon G40s. That's the highest end consumer camera they make. And we're also shooting right now, today I'm using the Canon XA35s, which is Canon's lowest end professional camera. Canon is coming out with a new professional camera, and it's called, there's 2 models coming out, and pros and cons. Some people are excited about it, some people are not. You read the specs, you read the reasons why. It's because of the market some of those people are in, but the market that we're in, it fits kind of what we're doing. But I still think if we were to add cameras, because we have a Teranex AV and everything is 1080, we'd be better off with another Canon XA35. But I want to share with you about this new Canon camera. Now this is a Canon XF400 and an XF405. That is the same physical size as the XA35, but it's a camera in a different class. It's not as high-end as other people were hoping for, but it, in my opinion, is a step above the XA35. It's got some pros and cons to it, but keep in mind that that's a 4K camera, but that's 4K out of the HDMI port and 4K internally. You're not going to get 4K out of the SDI, you're going to get 1080. So if that's the case, you're better off sticking with these other cameras, the XA35s, and if you've got to have 4K, run it through a Teranex AV. We're going to be showing some stuff behind the scenes on a Teranex AV later in the future, and Decimator has come out with a new converter too, a Decimator LX. The Decimator LX is a very tiny converter, a very tiny converter that I can hook up to a computer or to a camera, and I'm going to be telling about that behind the scenes. So if anybody's interested in stuff behind the scenes, I didn't have time to hook it up today, but I'll get it hooked up and tell you about it in the future. And this is a Decimator MD LX. It's got HDMI in and out and SDI in and out. So we'll see how it works. The advantage of it is it's smaller, it's lighter, and it's less expensive. Instead of $300 for a converter, it's $100 for a converter. I'll tell you more about it later. Didn't have time to get it hooked up. Now back over to the links. I've got a link up on this new camera at Red Shark, at B&H, and also I've got a link up on Red Shark about the best laptops for 4K editing. Now, this is their opinion, and I strongly agree with a lot of things that they have to say. It's worth looking at if you're looking at buying a new laptop. Y'all know my favorite laptop is still the Asus Zen 4K, if you can find one. Things are changing, so some of our users prefer the Dell, some of us prefer the Asus Zen. Personally, I prefer the Asus Zen. And you can look at this list and see which one you think is best and compare it to what you might be looking to buy. And for those interested in keeping up with some of the technology as the daily news, Comcast is going to see a huge subscriber loss. Well, Go figure. I guess they're going to have to learn how to be a little bit more user-friendly. I'll leave that to you, and you can look at the link, and I'm surprised it hadn't happened sooner. If they could be a little bit more responsive to users, that would be nice too. I've got a link up on Hexus about a 4K projector. Optoma has come out with a 4K projector. Finally, an affordable projector, but the problem is this 4K projector is only 2,800 lumens. So in terms of like when we do our meeting, we could upscale and put out to a 4K projector, but we need 3,500 to 4,000 lumens. This is only 2,800 lumens. You literally have to have two of these side by side focused on the same image, and that's hard to line up and do with a couple of consumer type projectors. It's doable. It's been done in the past. We talked about it a long time ago when we used to be at the George R. Brown Convention Center for the general meeting for LPC, but that's past. But the current, I wanted to put this up for anybody interested in 4K. The point of this is, as a mark in time, technology is becoming more affordable. With this link, you can take a look at it. I've also got a link up on YouTube where they build a desktop machine. It moved a little too quick, a little too slick, but you can see what they're into. I've got a link up on the Teradek Cube 755. Again, this is an H.265 encoder that does 1080. The one that's going to do H.265 in 4K and 1080 is going to be the Teradek Cube 855. If you get to this link, you can peruse around and you'll find information about it. And I've got some information from B&H that says the Teradek Cube 855 will be available into November. So that's something exciting to watch out for. Back over to the links, I mentioned about the How-To Geek for Cortana and also for turning off the Windows file search. That was annoying. And for those of us that got hit by Equifax, I've got a link up about that. And for those interested in the new iPhone, there's a link from Computer World. And I've got some stuff up on the live view from Newscast Studio, how they were delivering Harvey coverage. It's curious about some of the technology. We've always used a streaming solution that required a computer. But to have a streaming solution that can sit on the back of a camera that can be wireless or wired is a pretty amazing idea. So two companies to be watching, LiveView and Teradek. Those are two companies to be watching for. And for those, as we've gone through the 4K, Red Shark has an article up about 8K, which is coming to the living room. You know, like it or not, it's happening. Now, Tom Tyner had told us some time ago, if you get a chance to see a 4K TV versus a 4K HDR, take a look at it. Tom has hard time seeing. And Tom, if you're out there, hope all is well. And if you've heard from Glenn, let us know. We haven't heard from Glenn yet. He hadn't heard from Glenn. Hope you guys are okay. But if anybody's interested in a 4K monitor, excuse me, a 4K TV, Tom Tyner said that the 4K HDR is the way to go. Now, Mom's having difficulty with her hearing and with her seeing. We're going to pick up hearing aids tomorrow. But we were at Costco looking at the HDR TV, and she said, man, that is so crisp. I can see that so much better. So that piqued my interest. If it's easier for Tom, what Tom said, I think it's going to be easier for Mom to see. So anybody else that's got eyesight problems, if you're looking at a 4K TV, you might look at the 4K HDR. Just throw that out there. Now, also, I've got an article here about, and this is about how Twitch saved a ton of bandwidth on their live stream by switching to HEVC. HEVC is the H.265, and that link is an article on Teradek's site. Worth looking at, worth reading. And then I've got also the next trade show coming up, which is going to be NAB for those that are interested. NAB will be in, the next NAB will be in New York, October at the Jacob Javits Convention Center. And then I've also got a link from B&H about the new Decimator MD LX converter for those interested in some of the stuff behind the scenes. I'm going to be doing another video behind the scenes. I hope next week when we do Build or Buy, I'll be on time. I'm working at it. But as one person, you know, it just takes time to get all this stuff working. So I'm working at it. So I want to thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this today. This is live. We normally start at 1 o'clock, and I hope we're going to have our live meeting back at Chapelwood by hopefully October the 1st. I'll be going within the next couple of weeks to Chapelwood and see how things are progressing over there. So y'all stay safe. I want to hear from you, And thanks for joining us. And if you found this helpful, give us a thumbs up, a like, and appreciate you subscribing. Otherwise, y'all have a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for joining us today. Still working on the graphics, folks. It just takes time to get all this sorted out. Normally we have 2 or 3 people running this, and right now today it's just me. So thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next week.